Hey everybody, Doug here from 2 Plus Tough, and it's been a pretty slow news cycle, I guess, recently with a lot of the stuff coming out for 40k, but I knew stuff was coming, and I'm excited about it. We got the reveal at the last convention that Khorne was getting a new Battletome, and there's people not excited about that, but a lot of people who were, and so they actually dropped a big reveal for it this morning, and I wanted to take some time and talk about it. So here we are on the GW page. Let me close out of that. And we can start chatting about the Blades of Khorne Battletome. Now, this is like, before I begin, for those of you who can't watch and just kind of listen, it's basically just telling you what's up for pre-order next week, I believe. And so we're, as I always do, we're just going to go through the news and then kind of discuss it at the end and see what sounds interesting. So we have, I love their opening line here. Grab some skulls, hide your wizards, and stock up on blood for the blood god. Khorne is coming back. I love it. It's a good opening line. Next week sees a gory tidal wave of Khorne new releases for both Warhammer Age of Sigmar and 40k, because there are some demon things that are going to cross over, and we'll talk about those. New rules, new models, etc. So, Battletome Blades of Khorne is obviously the big deal here. Fielding your very own army dedicated to the Blood God. The Battletome builds on all the stuff you love from the original, with key improvements to several war scrolls and expanded rules alongside new lore and art illustrate Khorne's role in the Soul Wars. Now, that's interesting because Khorne's role was always limited to the Realm Gate Wars, narratively speaking. I mean, he showed up a few other places, but really the main crux of what was going on was when we got Khorne released with the release of Age of Sigmar. So, yeah, there was that. We're going to stay tuned for this week with more in-depth previews. That's cool. Lots of live streams this week, and we talk about what's being revealed. It's going to be released alongside of a set of War Scroll cards. What's interesting about this one is it says, like other Battletomes, Blades of Khorne will be released alongside a beautiful limited edition and a set of ever useful War Scroll cards. I remember the old ones, were they all limited edition? Because I had trouble finding the Skaven ones, but they still have shelves with the KO ones and the Sylvaneth, and I don't know, maybe they're kind of pulling back on the War Scroll cards, but if you play Blades of Khorne or you ever think you're going to, buy them. Straight up, they're so useful. And then it goes into talking about the not endless spells, and there are some interesting details here. So, I'm just going to read it and we'll talk about it. As you probably know, Khorne really, really hates wizards, but not even the Blood God could resist the power of the Arcanum Optimar, the strange magical storm that resulted in endless spells. Blood blessings are Khornate equivalents of endless spells summoned to battle by slaughter priests. Okay, so the stock in those models just skyrocketed. They're already pretty good. Each has devastating impact on the game. The Hexgore skulls, for example, cause wizards to forget spells entirely, which I'm assuming is, if we're looking at the picture, this pair of skulls is that's the only plural thing there is. So let's see here. Each has a devastating impact on the game. The Hexgore skulls cause people to forget spells entirely. The Wrath Axe is a deadly source of damage, which I'm sure is the axe rending itself through reality there. Unlike endless spells, they can't be dispelled by wizards, making them particularly dangerous for foes who rely on magic. Now, this is an interesting thing. So, what is it? I'm trying to think. So there's a difference between unbinding and dispelling. So I assume these can't be dispelled because that's the exact word they use. Obviously, if it comes from a prayer, they can't be unbound either. So once they're on the table, they're just on the table. So that's, I would imagine, unless you pulled them off, you can automatically unbind your own stuff. It's interesting. So I'm kind of curious what the big blood icon here does. But we have skulls that make people forget spells and probably just a predatory damage thing like everybody seems to have. So, yeah. I think the real balancing factor for these is going to be based around, because no one can unbind them, right? Dispel them. There needs to be some good balancing as terms of points and that kind of stuff, which I'm pretty confident they'll do, but it's just strange that now we've introduced a new level of the malign sorcery, endless spell stuff that can't be undone. So that's kind of interesting. Makes me feel good for the KO when they get their, I don't know, steamed stuff, steam magic. Next up is the Bloodmaster. It's an invaluable addition to any collection of Khorne demons, making already deadly bloodletters even more murderous. It's a new Herald model, basically. The Bloodmaster. And he looks sweet. Like, lots of crisp detail on the face. And a little skull icon on his hip there. I like him. Hopefully he does some cool stuff. I like the Heralds, that kind of level of hero. And of course, there's the Skull Taker. Of all of Khorne's heralds, few are feared as Skull Taker. And he's just a character bloodletter who is supposedly pretty stinking awesome. Let's see here. After all, what better model to... Let's see. I'm just going to pick up here. Skull Taker will be receiving a new plastic model for use in Warhammer Age of Sigmar and 40k. It'll stand out from the rest of your Khorne collection. Or make a fun one-off project for painting. After all, what better model to claim a Slayer sword than the model that actually wields the Slayer sword? Yeah, some pushback I heard on this was the idea that he looks like he stole Archaon's sword, which that one's called the Slayer Kings, I believe. Interesting stuff. And then there is this new terrain piece, which we had not seen before. And so, let's take a look at this one. So there's a terrain piece, if you can't watch it right now. It's basically a throne that looks like it's nestled inside of a Khorne berserker from 40k's helmet with the big ears going at the sides. As every Khorne fan knows, taking skulls is only part of worshipping the blood god. The skull altar is a new terrain piece that allows you to get the most out of your Khorne priests, a brazen dais from which they can roar grisly invectives. I never heard that word before. In-game, it'll allow you to re-roll their prayer and judgment rolls. So, pause. We know what a prayer roll is. I'm curious as to what a judgment roll is. That's interesting. As well as disrupting the abilities of nearby wizards. So, Khorne has no shortage of messing up wizards. That's awesome. I'm curious as to what a judgment roll is. That is an interesting thing. Let's see here. And yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, I think it'll be comparable in size to like the Flesh Eater Court's throne. I mean, they're both kind of throne type things. It wouldn't surprise me if it was like that, where, you know, bring it if you want it. It's kind of inconsequential if you don't think you're going to use it. But yeah, and then they're also taking this opportunity to release Karanak and the Flesh Hounds separately from the demons that they brought out, Wrath and Rapture. And so, yeah, you get 5 Flesh Hounds that look sweet now instead of the derpy ones, and Karanak, which looks amazing. And they talk about the battle for Vigilus, which they kind of tie into this because demons are going to start pouring into Vigilus. So, yeah, so that is a pretty interesting stuff. So kind of bird's eye view, backing away from it. Someone asked if the War Scroll cards will be... Well, I asked if there'd be a limited edition. Maybe they just meant this particular type of art style, but the Battletome's Blades of Khorne will be released alongside a beautiful limited edition and a set of ever useful... Okay, so the "and" there maybe is like a comma. I don't know. So like maybe they're saying there'll be a book, a limited edition version of that book, and also War Scroll cards. So that would make sense. For the first time I read it, it looked like it was saying that the War Scroll cards were limited edition. I was like, So, let's see here. Judgment rolls. Oh, someone said that the judgment rolls might be a dispel. That'd be kind of interesting. So, yeah. Okay, so that's it for the book. Big things that I'm excited for the book. I'll just kind of go off the top of my head. I want the center synergy of the army to move away from the Bloodstoker, Secretor. I don't know, the dude with the big pike. He stabs in the ground and everyone gets an 18-inch bubble. I want it to basically, I don't know, I want it to just have more options than that, where you're incentivized for bringing other things. I'm tired of every army that they have starting with that model and building outward. No, give me a reason to take other stuff. Give me a reason to explore other things. Looking back at, sorry, I was just making sure my stream was still going because everything kind of flickered for a second. Looking back here, I don't really see any particularly new things on these little tokens. I don't know. There's some cool new ability names, I think. And that's pretty much it. We have Skull Taker's profile right there up in front and center. Art in the cards looks sweet. As far as these endless spells, yeah, what is it called? The Wrath Axe, which I'm sure is this big old axe tearing through reality. I'm betting that's just a straight up mortal wounds dealer. Probably predatory, and I'd be interested to see if it's the kind of predatory where it can only hurt your enemy. Like the Skaven one can't hurt Skaven stuff. But yeah, and then the skulls shutting off spells. I mean, like, making a wizard forget a spell can be good. I'm not super, like, I don't have that mindset, that tactical top level mindset to be like, oh, this is the kind of spell that needs to get shut off. But it'd be kind of interesting. I wonder how that's going to work. Like if it's a random thing, or if you just set them up, pick a wizard, and you pick a spell that they forget. And then this guy, he looks like a blood secretor in terms of just an icon of Khorne that would bring hell with it. So that's kind of interesting. Let's see here. I'm going to hop over to the chat and just see what's going on here. Skulls are beautiful. You can see a lot of people converting them. Yeah, dude. I can see that. I can also see them breaking very easy depending on how thick the plastic for the tears of blood is. Let's see. Finally, I can throw away my metal Skull Taker. I never liked the old one. Mainly, I didn't like his cloak. His cape looked like he got a sweet deal at Burlington Coat Factory, and it was just too much. Let's see here. Good to see more fluff. Tell you what, I will be right back. I gotta go. Someone just knocked on my door. All right, I'm back. So I just ordered a new, what do you call it, backdrop to take photos so I can do better stuff on Instagram, and it just arrived. So, okay. War Scroll cards don't last forever. Interesting. Okay. The Judgment Roll lets you re-roll Judgment Endless spells for the Blood God. Judge. I don't know what that means. Because you get prayers, and it says that these are summoned through Slaughter Priest, which makes me think maybe are these judgments? I don't know. Let's see here. Ronnie Anderson asks if he can ask a lore question here. If it's related to Khorne, sure. I'll probably make it brief, but I'm going to hop off here in a second. I just wanted to share the news with people because I'm very excited about this book. Someone sounds like Katetsu with my as I predicted. Yep. I don't think I have a lot of predictions. There's just stuff I want. All I want is for the blood secretor stock to go down and everything else to kind of come up as a response. That's kind of my main thing that I want. Tyler Miller says, I don't play Khorne, but I'm tempted to pick up the spells and terrain just because they look so cool. Yeah, I mean, that terrain piece looks sweet. What's interesting is it seems to, it would fit perfectly if you already owned the, what's the fortress set that has like the skulls and crap all built into it. So, yeah, I think it would fit really well with something like that. Let's see here. Some of the skulls will be useful for death scenery. Yep. So anyway, that's the main thing I wanted to share with folks, is just talking about the book that's coming out. Now, they did say that there's going to be previews this entire week, so I'll be tuning in. What I really am interested to see as far as their previews go, I think the biggest things with Khorne, and I think a lot of folks were like, why are you picking Khorne? Well, one, they're a main protagonist, and their book is kind of strange because it's very splintered in a lot of different places. A lot of FAQs. Like the other Chaos Gods, all their summoning stuff is in the GHB. I think they want to move away from that, obviously. And so I wouldn't be surprised if we saw, was it Tzeentch and Slaanesh before the next GHB? But anyway, consolidating also. I want to see what they do with the Blood Tithe table. how they bring, because right now it's like two different toolboxes, right? One's summoning, one's the spell effects in the game, and if you have 8 blood type points, you can summon stuff. I want to see them consolidate that into one firm list, make blood stokers go down, everything else comes up, and give us just more ways to play. So I want to see a real design emphasis on having an all demon army, an all mortal army, and maybe something in between, right? Like just 3 very distinct styles that incorporate a lot of different stuff. So what's interesting is the skull altar is, I mean, it pretty much straight up says, make the most out of your Khorne priests, but it doesn't say blood, what are they called? The blood priests. Everything's blood in this freaking army. I can't think of their names. Slaughter priests. That's what he is. I wonder if they're going to add a new type of priest model because they're that vague. Right now, they are the only priests, with the exception of allying in the Slaves to Darkness with Khorne marked the War Altar, which, I mean, I'd try throwing a War Altar on this thing. That'll be fun. So, yeah, I'm kind of curious. I'd actually love it if the heralds were priests as well, because if you think about how heralds work in the other Chaos God armies, they're all very, very low-level wizards, and so I think it wouldn't be a terrible idea to port that over to Khorne stuff and be like, you know, you guys do prayers rather than spells. Here, your heralds can do the same thing, sort of. So, yeah. Chris Makeda says, I play Khorne, the current Battletome. It's a bit of a one-trick pony. Yep, and I would agree with that, generally speaking. I don't like that some of their best models are ones that don't have multi-kits. I mean, I keep harping on it, but the Bloodsecrator is a perfect example. It is just on I guess they did release it with Korgus Kull in that just kind of 2 model pack, but it was always just in the Khorne half of the starter set, which was really lame, just because it's hard to get. And then beyond that, yeah, I mean, everything kind of centered around that. I want summoning to be a real mechanic as things go on. So Mark asked, what time did I go on? I've only been on for like 15-20 minutes. I'm going to hop off here. This article, it doesn't share us a whole lot of information. I just wanted, it's more of a news thing, as I was in the middle of cleaning my house, with a few details on these are going to be summoned to the battlefield like prayers, and they kind of hinted at some of their effects. I'm assuming, kind of like with the Skaven and Flesh Eater Courts one day we'll get a news article that has the War Scroll card revealed, and we can really dive into some of that stuff. Yeah, so I'm going to hop off here. Mark, wait for the full video. It'll be up and fully uploaded in just a second. And that is pretty much it. So, yeah. Beyond that, just some cool looking kits. I'm curious to the price point of the Karanak and Flesh Hounds, but that's pretty much it. So, friends, what I will say is in the comments below, tell me your thoughts on the Khorne stuff. I'm kind of curious as to like what people's reaction is, because a lot of folks weren't very excited that Khorne was the next one up. I personally, I like it. You know, they have a long to-do list and they had to start somewhere, so this is as good as place as any to start. So anyway, tell me your thoughts down below. We'll talk about the various endless spells, and I will see you the next time that we do a news piece this week, because hopefully there'll be lots of articles. So thank you so much. Have